I'm back again. Sorry. But this time I have a good excuse. I moved. Yeah, welcome to the new gaff. Let's rank some anime frauds. Let's take a look at the tiers. Peak fraud. Fraud. On thin ice. Those are the characters that better do something soon because they're almost frauds. Literal fraud, which I know sounds like they should be near the top, but that is reserved for characters who are written like their whole character is being a fraud. Like Buggy the Clown, for example. They lie and cheat and pretend to be way stronger than they are. So they're not the actual slang definition for fraud, they're a literal fraud. And then the final tier is not a fraud. Starting with the Anbu Black Ops. Remember when they were introduced? You were like, holy shit. They're the strongest shinobi in the whole of Naruto. And then you watched more of the show and you thought, wow, they do absolutely fuck all. Apart from sneak around at night and get beat the fuck up. So, fraud. Buggy the Clown. I just made this example. Literal fraud. Dragon. His bro hasn't done shit, but I think it's been too long. Peak fraud. Hercule. Similar to Buggy. Made the whole world believe that he saved them by defeating Majin Buu, when in reality it was Goku. So, literal fraud. Immortal. The reason I made this video. Fraud. Kiba. I have a dog called Kiba, and he just stuck his head in the office. I hate this character. I don't know why I named my dog after him. I'm just going to say fraud. Kid. Eustace Kid. I don't think I've seen enough of Eustace Kid yet, so I'm going to reserve my judgment and just say on thin ice. I think this is King from One Punch Man. His whole shtick is being a literal fraud. This is King Fritz from Attack on Titan. Is he also a literal fraud? No, we didn't know that. We didn't know that was his whole shtick. So, fraud. Megami. Oh, is he on thin ice or is he already a fraud? This suicidal bastard. He's already a fraud. Mihawk, you're on thin ice. I know what the memes say. I'll give you another chance. The fuck is this guy's name again? Fake Owl. N, let's be real. You were such a letdown. Character-wise and as an actual detective. You're a fraud. Reagan is probably the perfect example of a literal fraud. Because he scams people. Reiner. The story is done. So you can't be on thin ice. But you're on thin ice, pal. You're like, come on. Although I do think he's a really well-written character. So I kind of do feel bad. I kind of want to put him in not a fraud. What do we do? Nah, Reiner's not a fraud. He's just a softie. I guess he's a fraud to his own country. Not a fraud. Renji? Now, I have not seen Renji yet in Bleach. But I've seen all the memes. He's kind of like the Kiba of Bleach, from what I can see. So, we're going to pop him in fraud. You know that meme? Same boat. So, yeah. Shadow Beasts. If you don't know who they are, because they appear for such a small amount of time in Hunter x Hunter, they were hired by the Mafia to take out the Phantom Troop. And we all know how that went. Peak fraud. Sukuna. Ooh. I'm not caught up in the manga, but I've been spoiled multiple times on this show. And I'm going to say fraud, as well as your counterpart, Satoru Gojo, also going in fraud from what I've seen. That is subject to change once I'm caught up. Usopp, I guess it is a literal fraud too, because he is designed to be that way, and we are aware of his conniving and lying. But God, I hate him. He's such a hard character to like. I'm sorry, Usopp fans. Sorry, One Piece fans. Still love One Piece. Just, especially in Dressrosa. I want to beat the shit out of Usopp. Sasuke. Why is Sasuke even on this list? Is he a fraud? What would make Sasuke a fraud? Losing to Killer Bee, needing his allies to back him up against Killer Bee, should I say? Nah, I don't think he's a fraud. He's a fraud of a father. We can go there. I'm gonna say not a fraud. Levi. I hate this argument that Levi's a fraud. Because he's always majorly injured when he comes up against Titans. He's not just coming up against Titan. He's 1v1ing the Beast Titan. Not just a stupid normal Titan Of course he's going to get injured. And there's other Titans that he's taking on as well at the same time. Not a fraud. Bro's a legend. Mikasa, on the other hand, I think she's a bit fraudulent. Her peak right in season 1, we're like, fuck, she might be better than Levi. Who knows? And then she just became meek and mild and simped for Eren. She did redeem herself by, you know, doing what she did in the final episode. I won't spoil anything, but I'm putting her in fraud. Madara. I don't think Madara is a fraud. If it wasn't for plot, that show would be over. They were struggling against him. He got done in by Kaguya. Does it make him a fraud, or is that just terrible writing? Just popping down in the middle on thin ice. Because he did enough to warrant his fear and a legendary status before that. Gohan, peak fraud. Bro had all the tools. He was like the child of prophecy. And then what did he do? He started studying. Peak fraud. Endeavor. Oh, this is an interesting one. Spoilers for season 7. He did fairly well against All For One. Obviously nowhere near what All Might could have done. And he did need Hawks to back him up. I guess if we compare him to All Might, he is a fraud. Because he spoke like he was on par with All Might, and he is leagues below him. So in that case, he's a fraud. But All Might's an anomaly, so who can compare to him apart from All For One? But great character development, and I was rooting for him in season 7. Bakugo. Bakugo's not a fraud. He, again, spoilers for season 7. Him going toe-to-toe with Shigaraki, and Shigaraki getting annoyed and actually taking damage from him. Fucking sick. He is so far from a fraud. You know, while we're on the My Hero topic, there is a peak fraud here. And that's Todoroki. Season 1. Didn't even need to take the trial exams. He just got in. He's Endeavor's son. He's got an ice and a fire quirk. Who the fuck's gonna stop this guy? He's insane. Loses to Deku. Became irrelevant. Like, Deku and Bakugo were involved in all the cool major fights. Whereas Todoroki on some side battle against a lesser villain. Almost every time. I'll give him, he did have a moment against Stain, but that was with Deku and, what's his name? Ingenium, forgot his real name. He did need help there. Yeah, and then the Derby fight came. And I was like, shit, he managed to control his quirks and use them together. Sick as fuck. And then Derby did the same thing. And then he needed more help to beat Derby. But you know what? That is harsh. Derby's a freak. Stain was also a freak and he's a kid. So I'll put him in standard fraud. But you can't come in with this reputation and then not deliver. Fraudulent behavior. Yamcha. I think it's harsh putting Yamcha on this list. In his verse, he's weak. Sure. The weakest of the Z fighters, that's for sure. Crazy strong for a human, so I wouldn't say he's a fraud. If you watch Super, he knows his place. He didn't fight too hard to try and make it to the tournament. He's like, yep, I'm weak. It is what it is. I don't think he's a fraud. I think he's a hero that took on too much. Kaguya, peak fraud. How are you going to come in with all this reputation, kill Madara, survive a 3v1, actually a 4v1, give them trouble in a 4v1, and then lose to some dick? To lose to some hot men with penises. Muzan. I think Muzan is a fraud because he's living off his reputation. All his underlings, the higher moons, the lower moons, every demon fears him because of his name. I think most of them could take him out. And he knows that too, and that's why he ran in the final episode. He's such a coward. Fraud. How about you do something, huh? Running from a frail, dying old man. Not old, but sickly, sorry. Tengen. Fuck. I'm struggling to remember the final fight. He is strong and flashy, but similar to some other people on this list, he needed assistance, so you're on thin ice. Also, you're no longer a Hashira, so on thin ice, buddy. Vegeta. Oh, this is a tough one. He is the king of taking L's. We have to give him that. Finally, my dog. My dog is here. Keeper, come. Keeper, come. You can't see him, he's off camera, but I promise he's here. I'm not going mental. Keeper. Anyway, Vegeta. The king of taking L's. But... man, he is technically peak fraud. But he's also my second favorite character in the show, so... after Piccolo. So it's really hard. Damn it. I'm gonna pop him in fraud. Because he's less egotistical now. He's humbled himself a bit. And finally, the biggest fraud in all of anime. Ash Ketchum. Bro took more than 20 years to win the Pokemon League. Come on, brother. He's like the Tottenham Hotspurs of Pokemon. Until he actually won. So I guess he's not the Spurs. He's like the current Arsenal. Always finishing second, brother. Come on. Peak fraud. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like the video. Please do subscribe. And I'm not going to make any promises, but see you next week.